Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, back for another Tech Forge video. My name's Nath, and today we'll be having a look at some news regarding some new consoles, some new GPUs, and also some gaming news while we're at it. Stay tuned. So let's dive straight into it. First up, we've got some gaming news from Telltale Games. They've recently announced that they are starting work on a Stranger Things franchise to their games. So players will have the opportunity to explore the Stranger Things world from inside the story arc from multiple fringe characters if past Telltale games like The Walking Dead, Guardians of the Galaxy, Jurassic Park and Game of Thrones are anything to go by. The game is slated for development for PC and console together, but there is no word on release date. Stay tuned for more news on that. Next up, Valve have announced at the beginning of next year it will no longer support Windows XP or Windows Vista for its Steam client. This is largely down to Valve streamlining its Steam app, which of course you're all familiar with, as Valve looks to integrate a chat service which is based, I believe, upon the Google chat service into its Steam app. Although looking at the Steam hardware survey for May of this year, which is the most recent one up at the time of this video going live, that it's not really affecting a large portion of the user base. The survey shows that only about 0.22% of accounts were using Windows XP in May of this year, whereas in this, Vista is unrepresented because, I guess, who uses Vista? No, seriously, who uses Vista? Next across the desk from Business Insider is an anonymous leak that Microsoft will be targeting the 2020 timeframe for its next-gen console. As well as a successor to the Xbox One generation of consoles, there's also rumours of further undisclosed products coming in under the banner of Project Scarlet. Initial estimates are that this could include handheld gaming projects to take on the Nintendo Switch. Microsoft also stated officially at E3 2018 this week that they were deep into architecting the new project, meaning that the 2020 timeframe leaked is entirely realistic. We also know AMD are source partners for processor and GPU solutions for Microsoft, which would likely see at least Zen Plus cores and perhaps a 7nm Navi driving the next-gen console. Further console news, of course, coming from Sony about the PlayStation 5. The reports are of industry rumours around the PlayStation 5 and that it will be designed around the Zen Plus and Navi architectures as well, with AMD and Sony said to be working closely on the GPU design. Sony has indicated that it's using the next 3 years to prepare for this next step to the next generation consoles, and slated possibly a 2021 release, which according to Sony's estimates means the PlayStation 5 may be delayed until 2021. I find this time frame a little bit difficult to accept as an official time frame. 2020 to 2021 are a little bit far down the road for where the technology's at today. We've got 7nm Vega on workstation coming through AMD. The Zen Plus cores are here now. We also have Navi being worked on while Vega was being developed. So there's all these things indicating that the technology of today will be outdated by the time that it enters 2020 to 2021. On to GPU news now, and we have news from, of course, AMD, Nvidia, and now Intel. Starting with AMD, there are, of course, several reports on AMD future GPUs. Firstly, from PC Games N regarding the structure of Navi GPUs, all but confirming a single-die monolithic GPU, which goes against predictions that AMD would be moving to multi-chip modules in the future in their next-gen architecture. In an interview with David Wang, Senior Vice President of Engineering at Radeon Technology Group, he revealed a next to zero chance that Navi's 7nm will be available as a multi-chip GPU. Wang revealed problems with getting independent software vendors or game designers to all be able to use the multi-chip model approach effectively, kind of locking AMD into a single die approach until they can figure out in software how to get these games looking at the GPU as a single entity rather than multiple. Of course, no such problem exists on the workstation side because the operating system can do those things that the games can't in regards to recognizing the GPU as a single entity. And this brings me to the crossroads AMD is at regarding their two architectures now with Vega and Navi. Vega was essentially a GPU for professional loads that was adapted to gaming. It was never intended specifically and solely for gaming, so therefore there are compromises. in the way it operates. It's possible that in time Vega will be transitioned exclusively into the AI deep learning and workstation arena, and Navi will become AMD's new gaming chip. This kind of makes sense, as Vega is already at 7nm for workstation and server GPUs, and is tied to using HBM2 at an architectural level. And HBM2 is very expensive, probably too expensive for mainstream GPUs, and the way Vega is architected and the things it's designed to do, being workstation tasks, it's ideal for a multi-chip module approach with the technology that we have today. Navi, however, can be designed from the ground up with cheaper DDR5 and DDR6 memory in mind for the mainstream 1080p and 1440p segments, and offer improvements in performance per watt and heat output over the current generation cards, and with a significant enough clock increase, which they should be able to get going down to 7nm on their current architectures, then we are probably looking at a card that will be borderline 4K ready. Also, given the potential use of Navi in upcoming consoles, which are Xbox and PlayStation, this is great news for game optimizations for Radeon GPUs, something of which they have lacked against Nvidia over the last several years. Nvidia, of course, being the #1 market share GPU supplier, means that game developers, when they develop a game, which is what they do, they look at Nvidia cards first and make sure their games run smoothly and perfectly on the most amount of cards possible. It's all a bang for your buck, return for investment sort of scenario. So this means with the consoles running the same sort of graphics architectures as desktop will be great for us desktop users, because it will mean if you want AMD to be competitive with Nvidia, this will help to level the playing field, because the games coming across from console will be made for that hardware. In something we haven't said for quite a long time, Intel are also in the GPU news. They are attempting to enter the GPU market space with discrete desktop graphics, which is something they haven't done for quite a while. This news coming to us from AnandTech, where Intel drops a time frame for its GPU release, officially stating that 2020 will see their own desktop graphics option to AMD and Nvidia graphics card. The design team to design this new GPU is led by former Radeon Technologies group leader Raja Kaduri, who of course worked on the Vega project over at AMD. And this could be a very interesting GPU, considering Kaduri's Vega team was hijacked by the Navi 7nm and the Zen Plus projects. So internal directives at AMD took away a lot of the engineers from Kaduri's team, and Kaduri's team was still able to release a compelling gaming card, even though it was a bit more of a compute card than a gaming card, with very limited resources. Vega managed to match the 1070, it managed to match the 1080. Of course, it didn't quite touch the 1080 Ti in a lot of titles. Some titles quite close, Forza 7 being one of them. So with Intel's huge resources and R&D budgets, it will be quite interesting to see what Kaduri can come up with. This leads me to speculate that AMD may be giving up for the now on the high-end market. They may be instead opting for the 1080p, the 1440p, and perhaps tickling the bottom of the 4K market with sort of mid-range value performance GPUs, and in that case allowing Intel to enter the market and produce the high-end GPUs, the ones that will run 4K at high refresh rate and above, to go up against Nvidia that way. And of course, talking about Nvidia and GPUs, we have some Nvidia GPU news. This comes to us via Tweaktown and 3D Center. Tweaktown's Anthony Gareffa reports on some industry inside info that he got from AIB partners at Computex 2018, who indicate an announcement on July 30 or thereabouts for next-gen Nvidia graphics cards. Now, this aligns with the widely popular rumour that there will be a demonstration during the Hot Chips 2018 conference in California, which begins mid-August and could possibly see hardware hit the stage on Monday the 20th. AIBs are rumoured to be allowed to release their offerings in the following months, which is perfectly timed for the holiday and Christmas rush. The bad news is Nvidia will be free to charge a fortune for these cards, with prices ranging from $999 to $1,499 US for the flagship model cards. The good news is they're expected to be able to handle high refresh 4K gameplay, which is handy because Nvidia of course has an upcoming release of their new big format gaming displays, which are HDR 4K high refresh video monitors. So there we have the news for the week. If you have any questions or comments regarding the video, please leave them below. And just quickly in channel news, the water loop is built. It is just over there. That video is in production and hopefully I can get it to you very soon, so stay tuned for that. Thank you very much for watching and I'll catch you in the next one.